If you're an investor looking to save money on capital gains tax and you're trying to purchase a property in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, this video is for you. In this video, we're going to be breaking down the 1031 tax exchange, how it can apply to you, and also how to do it from out of state. A 1031 exchange is named after Section 1031 of the IRS tax code. This enables investors to defer paying capital gains tax when they sell an investment property. The benefits of this are you get to keep more of your money in the beginning, enabling you to grow it at a quicker rate. Now, there are a number of things to consider when doing a 1031 tax exchange, so let's make sure it makes sense for you. It is possible to do a tax exchange between different states. So let's say, for example, you have a property to sell in Charleston. You would be able to purchase another property of a similar type in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. This means that both properties must be held for business or investment use. You can't exchange a primary residence or a secondary home. State-level tax laws can differ from state to state, so make sure that you're paying the correct amount of taxes. For example, if you're selling an investment property in South Carolina and buying one in Pennsylvania, if you do eventually sell that investment property in Lancaster, it's possible that South Carolina may try and claw back some of those taxes you deferred by moving to a different state. Now, why are investors moving to York and Lancaster, PA? Some of the benefits of the area is it does tend to be a lot more affordable. The average home prices vary from around $240,000 up to $350,000, $240,000 being York, Pennsylvania, and that sort of mid-300s in Lancaster. I'm an investor myself, and we've been able to purchase properties around $100,000 to $150,000, put in some equity, do some renovations, and then we're able to get decent rents as well. A 3-bedroom property in York suburban district may rent out for somewhere between $1,600 to $1,800, and you can probably purchase one for around $175,000 to $225,000. So you can still get a decent rate of return on your investment. Now, these are the common mistakes when people try to do a 1031 tax exchange. Number one is trying to do it on a primary residence or a secondary vacation home. If you're using a property as a vacation rental, as long as you've properly documented and have enough days of other people renting the property out, you may still qualify, but again, speak with a tax consultant in your area. Number two is missing the timeline. So from when you sell your property, you have 180 days in order to complete on the purchase of the next property. You only have 45 days to identify potentially 3 or 4 properties in your area that you would like to defer that money to. This means, let's say you had $50,000 profit from the sale of your home in Charleston. You would then have 45 days to identify 3 or 4 properties in Lancaster, Pennsylvania that were of a similar value and of the same usage. If you're selling a large multifamily property, sometimes the due diligence phase can take longer than this. So please make sure you've got everything lined up so you don't miss that window and end up having to pay taxes. Number 3 is touching the funds. When you sell the property, you don't want that money to go into your bank account, else you could be charged capital gains tax. You want to have a qualified intermediary who would hold it for you and then disperse it when you find the next property. Number 4 is not matching the debt and the value. The replacement property must be of equal or greater value than the current property that you were selling. This also goes for the debt. This means, let's say you were selling a $400,000 property in Charleston, you can't then go and buy a $200,000 all-cash property with no debt in Lancaster. It would have to be $400,000 or greater in order to get the tax exchange. If you do end up purchasing a property that is of less value or has less debt, you will have to pay a percentage of capital gains based on the difference. And number 5 is assuming any property qualifies. Now, there are some restrictions on this, so you want to make sure that you are purchasing a property to be used as a rental or a business. You can't use the gains from the sale to go and purchase a property and then flip it, for example. You want to purchase another one, have a mortgage, use it as an investment, or be running it as a business. How can we find those qualifying properties in York and Lancaster? You can only purchase properties that you identify in writing within 45 days of the closing of your current property. This is why it's essential to get due diligence done early. It doesn't have to be the exact type. You don't have to sell a condo and buy another condo. It simply means it must be real estate held or for business use. This means you could sell a condo in Charleston and you could buy a duplex in York or a townhouse in Lancaster or land in Lidditz that you could use for future development. You can't use this money to purchase your own property, buy a second home, or a property that you're intending to flip for profit. So the best way to identify these properties is to speak to an investor-friendly agent like myself. You want to make sure they know what the cap rates are in your area, the demand for rents, etc. And also someone who's familiar with the various types of zoning in the area. You're going to want to start looking before you even sell that property. Let's say you've got yours on the market. Start identifying the types of property and the types of areas that you want to purchase. This means you should have a couple of shortlisted options vetted, ready to pounce on as soon as you close. Use the 3-property strategy, and this goes as follows. You want your plan A. This is going to be your absolute top choice. Number 2, a backup, a similar property, maybe not quite as good an area, or maybe something that needs a little bit more renovation work, so you're more likely to be able to win that property. And then the third option is more of a high return option, something that may have a little bit more risk associated with it. As always, with any investment deal, make sure that you underwrite properly, understanding the taxes, estimated repairs, finding contractors in the area who might be able to give you quotes, potentially get eyes on the property, especially if you are out of state. There's expected rent numbers, insurance providers such as Steadily, who might be able to give you an idea of the insurance costs on that particular property. And especially in Lancaster and York, you want to make sure that you check the taxes properly. They can massively vary depending on the school district. For example, a $200,000 home in York City may have taxes of $6,000 a month, whereas a $200,000 property in York Suburban may only have taxes of $2,500 to $3,000. So in terms of overall expenditure, that difference is going to impact your cash flow massively, so make sure you do your due diligence when underwriting the deal. And then how can we avoid failing a tax exchange? Once you have closed on your current property, you have 180 days to purchase the next one. You're going to want to lock in that financing early. If you need a mortgage, get fully underwritten before you start looking at properties. Number 2 is focusing on motivated sellers. The market in York and Lancaster is pretty hot, so properties don't tend to stay on the market that long. I would focus on looking at homes that have been on the market for 30 days or more. Maybe they've had a price reduction, and trying to find those sellers who are motivated to sell. Number 3, preparation is key. Make sure you have your agent, your financing, and the types of areas and locations that you're looking to purchase already lined up. So as soon as something comes up, you can pounce straight on it. Number 4, writing a clean offer. Like I said, it is an extremely hot market here right now. So I would say less than 30% of my deals so far this year, people have been able to get a home inspection on. Typically, investors are writing cash offers or very strong conventional offers with large deposits, with minimal to no inspections. Now, again, always recommend you get one if you can. Number 5, having a strong deposit is going to be key. And also, if you are using a lender, use a local lender to the area. We even have some of our clients do non-refundable deposits. My business partner and I, when we're writing an offer, we'll tend to do a cash offer. We'll do a very large deposit, sometimes 25 to 50% of the property value, to show that we have the money available. And then we can either make that non-refundable and there'll be no inspections on the property. Let's just quickly summarize a step-by-step process from start to finish, from selling your property in Charleston or other state, and then purchasing the property in Lancaster. Number 1 is to confirm investment intent. We want to make sure that your property in Charleston actually qualifies to be used as a 1031 tax exchange. Some of the criteria the IRS use are the following: rental use for at least 14 days per calendar year, limited personal use, no more than 10% of the days rented or 14 days in a calendar year, and that you've held the property for at least 2 years. You want to hire a qualified intermediary before closing so that they can handle the money during the transition process. Step 3, we're going to list and sell the property in Charleston or the state that you happen to be in. Your funds will then be held by the Q and escrow account until you're ready to purchase the next property. Number 4 is you're going to identify your next property within 45 days of closing on your current one. This means it has to be used for either investment property, business use, or potentially land that could be used for development at a later date. Typically, you want to identify 3 properties of any value, but you could identify any number of properties up to 200% of the current sale price of your property in Charleston. Step number 5 is closing on your new property. You have 180 days from the sale of your current property before purchasing your new one in order to complete the exchange. Step number 6, you'll want to notify your tax professional to make sure that this is noted properly on your tax return at the end of year. Finally, 1031 tax exchanges can be a great way of deferring those taxes in order to help grow your investment portfolio quicker. If you're looking at purchasing an investment property in the York or Lancaster area, make sure to drop me a comment or sign up for a call on my website, and I'll be happy to talk through the various options of how we could help you defer those taxes and grow your wealth.